So what I've done is I have drawn my buttonhole on. I drew it 1/2 inch in, and I did it 5/8 of an inch, as if I'm making a 1/2 inch button on the back here. Because remember, it's always an 1/8 inch bigger. Okay, so 1/2 inch in and 5/8 of an inch. So see how it extends past center back 1/8 of an inch? You see that? Okay. Now, I'm going to then also, on my center back, on the other side, I have to put my buttonhole. So here, I came in 3/8 of an inch, and I made a dot. Now, the other way you could do it is you can align your center backs like this, put them together, measure in 1/8 from the end of the buttonhole, push your pin through, and that tells you where your buttonhole placement is. Okay, because remember, it's always going to be 1/8 of an inch from the end of the buttonhole. So if you don't want to do all the measuring with numbers, that's how you would do it, okay? So buttonhole on the side with the extension, 1/2 inch in, 5/8 long. Where do you put it? You put it right in the middle of your waistband. So yours is 1 inch, so you're going to measure, not including seam allowance, from the fold, measure down 1/2 an inch, okay? So that it's centered right in the middle of the finished waistband, not including seam allowance, okay? All right, now comes the tricky part. Okay, now comes where we have to add our notches. So I have to add a notch for my side seams, and I have to add a notch for center front, and I have to add a notch from other side seam. Okay, so this is where we have to do a little more math, okay? So let me tell you how I did it. Okay, so I know these are my center backs because my zipper placement is at center back. So what I did is I told you guys to take your front measurement and your back measurement and subtract a 1/16 of an inch, right? Because a 1/16 and a 1/16, you have 2 1/16ths in each section, and we got 4 sections. That adds up to that 1/4 inch that you subtracted in the beginning, okay? The reason the waistband has to be smaller is because there's extra ease in the skirt, and if we made the waistband the exact same size, it would look like it was going straight up. The body actually goes in, so it has to scoop in a little bit, and the waistband has to be smaller to fit the dimensions of the body without the ease. Does that make sense? Okay, I hope so. And so for half scale, you guys are doing it a 1/4 inch smaller divided by 4, it's a 1/16. Okay, that's why I had you subtract the 1/16. I'm making mine a 1/2 inch smaller because it's full scale, so I have to subtract 1/8 from each section. So 1/8 plus 1/8 is a 1/4. 1/8 plus 1/8 is a 1/4. A 1/4 plus a 1/4 is a 1/2, right? Does that make sense? Okay, so I did this. I took my front measurement, and it says 6 9/16, so I subtracted 1/8. Well, my front is in 16ths, so instead of 1/8, I put 2 16ths. So 6 9/16 minus 2 16ths equals 6 7/16. Then I did my front. Is it that complicated?
No, I'm just laughing at people's expression.
Okay, then I did my front, my back. My back was 6 1/16. I had to subtract 1/8. But you want to put it so that the fractions are in the same term, so 1/16. So I said 6 1/16 minus 2 16ths, which is the same as 1/8, equals 5 15/16. Okay, so this is what I did. After I had those measurements, coming from center back, I measured that new number, okay? So from my back, it was 5 15/16 notch. Do the same thing from this center back. 5 15/16. This leftover part is for the front of my skirt. So I measured my front of my skirt, and then I subtracted the 1/8 again. So 6 7/16. So measuring from that mark that was the side seam, sure enough, 6 7/16, 6 7/16. And if it comes out perfect, you know you had the right numbers, okay? If you didn't, you're gonna have to do it again. So there you go. So we want notches at the side seam, we want a notch at center front, we want a notch at the other side seam, and then 2 notches at center back to tell us where this whole thing lines up. Okay? If you want, I'll put my math on the board, but I don't think my math is as pertinent as you getting your math correct. Okay, and so there's my pattern. It's ready to go with a buttonhole and a button, and with my notches so that I can sew it to my skirt. Okay, so if you need help with your math, bring your math over here and I'll help you with it. But let's get it done. It's not that hard.
Can you send me that video?